Well, folks, we are happy to have a guy I consider a friend. His name is Anthony Lannarella. He comes from Canada, Toronto, Canada. And Anthony has been watching Beat Diabetes and commenting so often that I just feel like I know him well. But this is the first time I've had a chance to actually see him. And we talked over the phone once before. So anyway, I am so happy to have you, Anthony. Welcome to Beat Diabetes.
It's nice to be here. And just like you said, I feel like I've known you for many years, and it's an honor to be here.
Well, people often have diabetic symptoms of one kind or another. Sometimes it's frequent urination and constant thirst. Sometimes it's neuropathy. How did it happen for you, Anthony? How did you know that you needed to get to the doctor and find some help?
It all started with basically, we're going to go back about 10 years ago with a simple blood work test. I was tired quite a bit, and I had some blurriness in my eyes. So that kind of got me thinking maybe it could have been diabetes, because I've been doing some research prior to this. So I got my basic blood work done, and then the doctor confirmed that it was. So, he basically gave me the beginning guidelines of watch your sugar, stay away from the fat, and we'll take it from there. And that's what I was doing for many years. And of course, it did say try to have more grains, brown grains. So I was doing that for many years. And but I was still overweight, and the blurriness in the eyes were still happening. So basically, one day I had my eyes were very blurry. Half of the top of the inside of my eyes were blurry. And I was seeing rainbow color lights around the lights. And I ended up calling my eye doctor, and I think she had already picked up on what would be the problem and got me in right away the same day. So she did the preliminary checking, and one of the tips was my eye pressures that they usually check for glaucoma were 50 in both eyes at the time. So this was a red sign for her. So she quickly had me go down to the local main hospital that specializes in eye care in Toronto. And we started doing the testing that same day, and it was confirmed that it was diabetic retinopathy. Now, when you're at the doctor's office, you don't really hear anything because you get scared. And so he basically booked an appointment to start off with basically what diabetic retinopathy is. There's bleeding going on in the back of the eyes, where the vessels are certain vessels start to grow to help you see better. Those vessels break and start bleeding, and they cause the cloudiness around the part of your eyes in the front. And he basically confirmed it. And the first thing he told me, the ophthalmologist, was stop eating grains and fruit right away as of today, or else. So, long story short, I took the stop to eat the grains, not the or else. And I got home and I researched retinopathy. And the first thing that came out was a video on retinopathy. And then your Beat Diabetes channel came right under. I saw the first one, and which explained the whole process of what it was. And then I went into your channel, and that's when the magic happened.
Okay, well, let me get this straight. You said that the first doctor you went to see told you to start eating whole grains, brown foods, and fruits, but now was it the eye doctor that told you give up on the whole grains and the fruits?
The ophthalmologist did.
Yeah.
The first day he saw me, he said, as of today, you stop all grains and fruit until we get a handle of the issue, or else, meaning it could get worse.
You are blessed to have such a sharp guy who gave you some great advice.
I got lucky with this guy. Apparently, the newer doctors these days are more into the foods and the new way of how things are changing regarding diabetes. And I got lucky with this doctor. Apparently, his boss saw me first, and he had said the same thing, which was an older gentleman. And he told me, regarding to my situation, I should stop these foods right away. So I started to do that. And then everything, we started the process of lasers, which lasers, they reduce the swelling of the vessels, and they seal off the vessels from leaking. And then after a couple of lasers appointments, we started the. This is what everybody starts to get squirmy about, the injections in the back of the eyes. It's a protein they put in the back of the eyes that reduces the swelling of the new vessels that are growing and reduces the swelling of the retina. There's different types of retinopathies. I have the peripheral retinopathy, where the vessels grow on the side. So we started doing this whole procedure, and I started to follow your advice on diabetes, and the sugars went down from there. My original A1c was 12.1 about 3 years ago, and within actually watching your video and participating in the challenges that you have, 6-month challenges, in 1 year, I reduced my A1c to, as of right before Christmas, 5.2.
Wow, that is such fantastic progress. Just absolutely amazing. But let's talk about the emotional impact it had on you when you first found out you had diabetes. How did it hit you? Did you say, I can fix this, or I'm done for?
I was actually, I had a suspicion I had it. I mean, I wasn't totally surprised by it, but I didn't expect it to be this high. Now, a year before my, when I went to a regular eye appointment, the eye doctor had suggested that she saw some things occurring. Now, she referred me to a retina specialist, but you know how guys are big and tough. We say, it's nothing. And I didn't really follow up on the appointment. But now this issue happened a year after. And had I gone maybe a year before, it might not have been as bad. But you know how us guys are. We're the tough guys, right? I didn't have those, to be honest with you, but I did have some arthritic issues, burning sensations, but I didn't quite relate that to diabetes. But then after watching your channels for many years I realized that it's inflammation that's being caused by the high sugar.
Okay, now you mentioned that the ophthalmologist said some things to you that really gave you a scare and motivated you to make changes. What exactly did he say to you?
Well, the first one was fear of losing my eyesight. So usually most people need a health scare to start things off right away. Sometimes they don't get scared, but it started off with a great ophthalmologist that I had from day one, and he scared the wits out of me. And that's when I said, I got to do something about this right away. So I came across your channel, and after doing some research on food and testing with my friend here, Mike Demeter, which every diabetic should have in their household.
When you started watching my channel, were you cynical at all? Did you say, well, this guy's not a doctor. What does he know? How long did it take you to become a believer in the things I was saying?
I kind of knew that carbs were the problem, but I wasn't really watching myself in terms of where I was doing my exercises and doing my basic diet. So anyways, but usually about the third video, you start to pick up on it. But the one that really woke me up was, what would I do if I had sky high blood sugar numbers? And you described everything that people should do right away, immediately, which was drop your all carbs and fruit, bring your numbers down, and then start to introduce things back again. My last A1c, because I've been in the program that we just did last 6 months, the challenge, and right before Christmas, a week before, it was 5.2. And my last appointment with the ophthalmologist was last week, when actually you contacted me the following day. And the retinopathy, there's no more bleeding, there's no more leakages, bleeding, and swelling has gone down. And I also, last year, I only had 2 injections all year.
Those shots in the eyes, they scare me to death. I've never had them, and I never want to have them. But a lot of people do have them, and they manage to get through it, so maybe it's not quite as bad as I think.
First injection was on a Monday, so that the Saturday, the weekend, I was scared like you won't believe. And to tell you the truth, they told me to bring some extra clothing. So I didn't know what that meant, so I brought some clothing. After the needles, I know exactly what that meant, which I can't see right here, but you would imagine why they told me to bring extra clothing, because the first one was very scary. After two or three, well, you get the hang of it.
Okay, well, maybe you won't need to have the hang of it anymore. Are you scheduled for any more of those eye injections?
I go back in 3 months, and he's going to monitor them. But I'm on no medications for diabetes, no pills. I was prior many years ago, but the side effects were just, I can't even say it on here, which most people that do take it will get the idea of what they are.
So when you first found out you were diabetic, they prescribed some meds for you and you took them for a little bit and they didn't agree with you. Is that how it went? And then you just gave it up?
That was basically it. I stuck to the meds right till I started watching your channel, and I was following what you said and testing my numbers. And then we started noticing a couple of A1c tests just start to go down, and I weaned off of the medication. But the positive part of this that will keep me on track is I don't want any more eye needles. So ophthalmologist told me, this is your reward is if you eat the cookie, then you got to think about eye injections. And that's what keeps me on track, the motivation.
Well, in a way, that's a blessing. It motivated you to make the changes you need to make, and you've made such fantastic progress. You've got to be feeling pretty good about now.
Well, also with all this changes I made, I lost, my highest weight was 267. I am down to 208 as of last week. So quite a bit of weight. Yeah. And actually, if you follow the restrictive carb diet, you really don't need to exercise because it drops your blood sugar down and the weight just peels off, along with intermittent fasting as well.
Well, for sure, I've heard from many diabetics who say they beat diabetes without any kind of exercise. I really don't recommend that you don't exercise at all. Exercise is good for you, and it is a tool in your toolbox, but it is not the major tool. Diet is. So, Anthony, give us a word of encouragement for new diabetics. We are always having new diabetics, people that have just recently been diagnosed, watch this channel. So give them a word of encouragement, will you?
First thing I would say is get a nice handy micrometer with you. Get your sugars checked, and don't wait till you start to realize there's something wrong with your body there. Listen to beatdiabetes.com. He knows what he's talking about because he has the same issue. So people that have the same issue will believe another person. And also, don't forget, buy yourself a nice handy micrometer. He's going to help you with your progress when Dennis is not here. And also, the number one thing a diabetic should have is Dennis is going to laugh about this, the trusty truffle maker. Your best friend, we tease about this on our comments. And I got the pink one he told me to get. This is important, guys. Get one of these. They're cheaper in pink.
Yeah, I have teased Anthony about his pink chaffle maker and told him that wasn't very manly. And then I ordered a Dash mini grill, same size as a chaffle maker, and I didn't pay attention to the color. I ended up getting a pink one. So I thought, well, I'm in the same boat as Anthony. Well, Anthony, any final words?
I follow the Dr. Atkins is the way of eating, which he allows about 35 to 50 grams of carbs per day. Now, my only carbs that I take from the 50 grams are a handful of blueberries, which are very low on the diabetes chart. And one other thing, if you're diabetic, be careful about following the glycemic index. That index is a bit higher for diabetics.
Yeah, the glycemic index is not really the final word. It's not entirely trustworthy. It could be somewhat helpful, but you can't really depend on it.
And one more thing, make sure you understand how to read the food labels of calculating the original carbs minus the fibers, because carbs turn to sugar.
Probably most of you know my wife Benedicta, but few of you know the amazing paths God has led her to bring her to where she is today. Benedicta was orphaned at an early age and lived with an elderly stepmother growing to adolescence. They were so poor, Benedicta had to drop out of school and sell food door to door for them to survive. As a teen, Benedicta got a job as a housemaid, which developed into a nightmare. She was required to cook, clean, wash, take care of the children, and she had to get up at 4 a.m. every day just to get her work started. Worse than that, she was frequently beaten. At around 20, she moved to the huge city of Lagos, where she started her own little business. Sometimes she prospered, but at other times she nearly starved and went days at a time without eating. At one point, she became so sick she passed out in her room and nearly died. She found herself outside of her body, and she was able to see the splendors of heaven until she was sent back with a command to share her story. One day, however, her life changed when an American evangelist came to her community to preach. And of course, that was me. The rest, as they say, is history. Benedicta has shared her life story in a recently published autobiography, and you can get it on Amazon as either an ebook or a paperback. A link to this book on Amazon is in the description.